Hello all, I am Ritesh Sohan, working as an assistant professor in Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Technical Education and Research Center, Navsari. I am going to take the subject Compiler Design, which offers in the 7th semester in GTU. Let's see the teaching scheme and syllabus offered by the GTU. So here total credit of the subject is 6, where 4 lectures and 2 for the practicals per batch. And the best reference book for this subject is that first one, Principal Technique and Tools by Aho, Sethi and Ulman, which covers all the topics of the syllabus. So there are total 8 units in this subject, in which third unit is most important as it has 22% of the weightage and also it is too lengthy. As you see, these all units are related with the phases of compiler that you already learned in the previous semester. But here we learn all the phases of the compiler in deep. Not the overview, but we learn all the phases in deep. Let's begin with the first unit, that is overview of translation process. So what is translator? Suppose one person is talking with me in Chinese language, then I am not able to understand anything because I don't know Chinese language. For that, I have to put one mediator or a translator so that he or she can translate Chinese language to Hindi, Gujarati or English that I understand. Similarly, computers also have a translator so that what we write as a source program, that is in the high level language like in C, Java, that can be translated into machine language, that is in low language in the form of 0, 1. Then and only then the computer gives us the output. Let's see the definition. It is a program that takes one form of program as an input and converts it into another program. Okay, the input is called the source program and the output is called a target program. The source language can be assembly or high level language like C, C++ or Fortran, etc. So as you see in the figure, it translates source program into target program. And if it has any error in the source program, then translator reports to the user. There are basically 3 types of translator. First one is compiler, second one is interpreter, and third one is assembler. Let's see one by one. So what is compiler? It reads a program in high level language and translates it into an equivalent program in machine language. It also reports the error to the user while translating from high level to machine level language. Also, compiler converts whole program at a time and then reports the error if there is any. This figure explains the definition of compiler. So here we see, we write the source code in a C language, that is in high level language. Compiler convert it into 0-1 form, that is machine level language. That is our target language. So the major functions done by the compiler is, it converts program from one form to another. It translates whole program at a time and reports error if any. Compiler must preserve the meaning of the source code. Means if we develop a program for addition, it must perform addition, not subtraction or multiplication. Compiler should report error so that user can recorrect the program. Now, what is interpreter? It also translates the source language into an equivalent target language. But unlike compiler, it converts one line at a time and reports error if any. See the figure for better understanding. Interpreter translates this first void main in machine language. If it is any error, it reports to the user. Next, second line is translated in machine code, then third, and so on. We see that in compiler, whole program is translated at a time, but in interpreter, it converts line by line. So the major functionality of interpreter is it converts source language into target language. It translates one statement at a time. It should preserve the meaning of the source code. It should report error if any. Now the last translator is assembler. Unlike compiler and interpreter, it takes assembly code as a source language and translate it into machine language. Assembly code has mnemonic code like add, add, for subtraction sub, for multiplication mul, which deals with register. You can see the assembly code in this figure. So this assembly code converts to machine code by assembler. Assembler also reports the error, if any, while translating this code. Now next, what's the difference between compiler and interpreter? Compiler scans the entire program and translates it as whole into the machine code, but in interpreter, it translates one statement at a time. In compiler, error is displayed after entire program is checked. Okay, but in interpreter, after each line is checked, the error will be displayed to the user. Compiler generate intermediate code. Compiler generate intermediate code. We learn intermediate code in deep in next part of this unit. It is a code which is easy to produce and translate. It is commonly used as a form of 3-address code. In interpreter does not generate intermediate code. In compiler, memory requirement is more. Why? Because whole program are translated at a time. But in interpreter, memory requirement is less. Why? Because one statement is translated at a time. Example of compiler is C compiler. Example of interpreter is basic Python and Ruby. So the next topic is analysis synthesis model of compilation. It is also known as structure of compiler or phases of compiler. So the compilation process has two parts. First one is analysis phase and second one is synthesis phase. In analysis phase, the source code breaks into the parts and arrange that pieces into a meaningful structure. This analysis phase further divided into three subparts. First one is lexical analysis, second one is syntax analysis, and third one is semantic analysis. These phases we learn in deep in the phases of compiler after this slide. So the next is synthesis phase. In synthesis phase, it generates the statement with the same meaning as the source program but in the different form. It also further divided into three parts: intermediate code generation, code optimization, and code generation. So here source code is passed through the analysis phase, then semantic analyzer outputs take by intermediate representation to make intermediate code, and this intermediate code takes as an input by synthesis phase for code optimization and code generation to produce the target code. These are phases of compiler where source program translate in these 6 phases one by one and produce the target code. We see all these phases one by one by taking one statement. Here symbol table gets the information of variables and store it and attributes like address, type, size of the variable. In error detection and recovery, the error detected by the individual phases was recorded and reports to the user. Here intermediate code is not mentioned in synthesis phase because it's a machine independent code which is used in any backend of other compilers. Let's see all phases one by one by giving one statement. So the first phase is lexical analysis. It is also known as linear analysis or scanning. It breaks the statement and form a tokens, and that tokens are classified into different classes like IDs for identifier, constant for numbers, keywords, etc., and enters them into the different tables like identifier stored in symbol table, operator in operator table, etc. Let's take one statement and pass through lexical analyzer, that is position equal to initial plus rate into 60. Then the tokens are position is classified as an identifier and give the output as ID1. Here ID indicates an identifier and 1 indicates that this identifier is stored in first position in symbol table. Okay. Next one is assignment symbol, and then initial as an identifier as ID2, then plus symbol, rate as an identifier and stored in symbol table as ID3 in third position, then multiplication symbol, and then constant, that is 60. So lexical analyzer breaks the statement and classify it into different classes, as you can see here. So next, syntax analysis. It is also known as parsing or hierarchical analysis. It takes the input which is produced by lexical analyzer and generate the parse tree or syntax tree. In this phase, the parser checks if the expression made by token is correct or not. Suppose if I write 1 plus 2, then error occurs. This type of error is detected by syntax analysis because every operator has 2 operands, but in 1 plus 2 there are 2 operators and only 2 operands. When the parser wants to generate the tree, the error was detected. So the syntax tree or parse tree for ID equal to ID plus ID into 60 looks like this. Here first ID is multiplied by 60, then the whole answer is added by ID2, and the whole answer is assigned to ID1. So this phase basically generates a parse tree and detects syntax error if any. Next phase is semantic analysis. It determines the meaning of a source string. It checks whether the expression has matching parentheses or not. In if else is not in the proper place, then this analysis will detect the error and report to the user. Then type compatibility was also checked by syntax analysis. Suppose in A equal to B plus C, where B and C are of type float and A is of type integer, then error occurs of type compatibility. Then scope of the variables is also checked by this phase, where it checks the variable is declared before it has been used. If variable is not declared and we use that variable, then this phase detects the error that please this is an undefined variable. Now suppose ID1 here in this example, ID1, ID2 and ID3 are in real, okay, in float. Then semantic analysis checks and apply the third point because 60 is an integer. It must be in float or real. So it converts 60 into 60.0, that is integer to real, by applying integer to real on the number 60. So after semantic analysis, the syntax tree becomes as you see in the figure. Next phase is intermediate code generator. It has two important properties. It is easy to produce the intermediate code and easy to translate into the target program. This intermediate code has three forms. First one is postfix notation, three address code, and syntax tree. But the most common form is three address code. So we generate intermediate code in the form of three address code. So the intermediate code becomes, first we stored by converting 60 into real in variable temporary 1. Okay. Then this 60 is multiplied by id 3. So T2 equal to id 3 into T1 because T1 has the number 60. Then the whole answer is stored in temporary variable, that is T2. Now the answer stored in temp2 will be added with id2 and stored in temp3. And at last the whole answer is stored in temporary 3 is assigned to id1. So id1 equal to T3. This is an intermediate code in the form of three address code. We have total three forms of postfix notation, three address code, and syntax tree. But we are generating this intermediate code in the form of three address code because it is commonly used. Then the next phase is code optimization phase. It is an optional phase as it only optimizes the code for faster execution and also consumes less memory. Also, after optimization, the result of the program is not affected. So now you see in the right hand side the figure, T1 stores id into 60 instead of converting integer to real of the number 60. Similarly, id1 stores id2 plus T1. Here we can see that instead of utilizing three temporaries, we only utilize one, and result of the program is also not affected. Also, memory consumption is less and it will faster executed compared to non-optimized intermediate code. The last phase is code generation. Here, optimized intermediate code will be translated into machine instruction. So first, id3 is moved in register 2. We take any register name like R1, R2, R3. Okay, I am taking R2. Here move F. This F indicates that it deals with floating point number. If it is an integer, we don't have to write anything, only move. But we are dealing with floating point number, that's why we are writing move F. Okay. So id3 is moved in register 2. Now multiply R2 with 60 and store the result in R2. Note that we stored the result in the left hand side after performing the operation. Also here before 60 there is one symbol that is has. It indicates that it deals with constant. Okay. Now id2 is moved in R1, then add R1 and R2 and store the result in R1. As I say, the answer is stored in left side of the register after performing the operation. So addition of R1 and R2 is done, and then the whole answer is stored in R1. And at last move F, the whole result is moved in id1. As I say, the answer will be stored in the left hand side because whole answer is stored in R1. So we pass position equal to initial plus rate into 60 with each phases, and every phases to generate the output. So the whole figure is looks like this. The position equal to initial plus rate into 60 will be passed through each and every phases of the compiler, and at last we produce the target code. We also have an exercise that you have to do in similar way and generate the output by passing these two statements in the phases of compiler. Note that here there is two different statement. Okay, so do individually. First x equal to b minus c into 2, perform this, and after completion of first statement you can try the second statement. Hope you understand the phases of compiler well. So the next topic is context of compiler, that is cousins of compiler. Without cousin of compiler, compiler is not able to generate absolute machine code that is actually needed by any machine to give the output. So the first cousins of compiler is preprocessor. Before compiler do their work, machine first checks the preprocessor of the program. Preprocessor uses the command hash symbol as the first character, which is mostly on the top of your source code. Its main uses is to include special files, that is header files, and defining various macros, where has include directive includes a header file and has defines the macro file. So by placing these directives near the top of a source code, then all parts of the program have access to the information contained in them. For example, if we include math.h in our program, then we are able to use sqrt function for finding the square root of any number. Now the source program is taken by compiler. What it do is it translates the source language into an equivalent target language in the form of assembly code, and next that code is taken by assembler. Now assembler takes the target assembly code in the form of mnemonic code generated by the compiler and translate it into the machine code as an output. Next, linker. Linker allows us to make a single program from the several files of the relocatable machine code. These files may have been result of several different compilation and one or more library files of routine provided by the system. And the last cousin of compiler is loader. Loader loads the relocatable machine code into the main memory from the storage device and alter the relocatable address and place the altered instruction and the data in the memory at proper location. Then the absolute machine code is generated. So with the help of this all cousins of compiler, that is preprocessor, assembler, linker and loader, compiler is able to generate the absolute machine code. So the next topic is front end and back end of compiler. It is also known as grouping of phases. So in front end, it consists of those phases that depends on source language and independent of target machine language. Front end includes lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis, intermediate code generation, and creation of symbol table. Some of the code optimization is also performed by front end. Next, backend. The backend consists of those phases that depends on the target machine and do not depend on the source program. Backend includes code optimization and code generation phases with necessary error handling and symbol table operation. Next topic is pass structure. So the one complete scan of source program is called pass. It includes the reading of an input file and writing to the output file. In a single pass, compiler analysis of source statement is immediately followed by synthesis of equivalent target statement. While in a two pass compiler, intermediate code is generated. In one pass compiler, intermediate code is not generated, but in two pass compiler, intermediate code is generated between analysis and synthesis phase. It is also difficult to compile the source program into single pass due to forward reference. So this forward reference is a difficulty in the single pass. Let's see what is forward reference. A forward reference of a program entity is a reference to the entity which precedes its definition in the program. Okay. This problem can be solved by postponing the generation of target code until more information concerning the entity becomes available. So the solution is, it leads to the multi-pass model of compilation. In pass 1, perform analysis of source program and note relevant information. In pass 2, it generates code using information noted in pass 1. The next topic is difference between single pass and multi-pass compiler. Single pass is also known as one pass compiler. The first difference is a one pass compiler is a compiler that passes through the source code of each compilation unit only once. In multi-pass compiler, it processes the source code or abstract syntax tree of a program number of times. Second difference, a one pass compiler is faster than multi-pass compiler because it only passes through the source code only once. Multi-pass compiler is slower because it takes several times to pass through the source code. Third difference, it is also called narrow compiler, and multi-compiler is sometimes also called wide compiler. And last, language like Pascal can be implemented with the single pass compiler, but in multi-pass compiler, language like Java requires a multi-pass compiler. The next topic is type of compiler. The first type of compiler is one pass compiler that we already discussed. It is a type of compiler that compiles whole process in one pass. Next type of compiler is two pass compiler. It is a type of compiler that compiles whole process in multiple pass. It also generates intermediate code. Note that one pass compiler does not generate intermediate code, but two pass compiler generate intermediate code with the help of analysis phase. In two pass compiler, we are using analysis phase and synthesis phase. Third type of compiler is incremental compiler. It's a compiler which compiles only the changed line from the source code and update the object code. Suppose I compile C program which is error free, then obviously one object file is created. When I update or modified that source code and then I again compile the whole code, then only the updated code is compiled, not the whole code. That is known as incremental compiler. Fourth one is native code compiler. It's a compiler used to compile a source code for a same type of platform only. Suppose I write the code in C, then the front end and back end of C compiler process my source code. Okay. But in cross compiler it is different. The cross compiler used to compile a source code for a different kinds of platform. Suppose I write a code in C and I collect the intermediate code from the C compiler, that is from the front end of the C compiler, then that intermediate code I can use as an input to Java compiler backend. Okay, I collect the intermediate code from C compiler from the front end of C compiler, but I use that intermediate code in the backend of Java compiler. Okay, this is what the cross compiler is. So here we complete unit 1. This unit contains only one numericals, that is when we pass the statement through phases of compiler. Also I give you two exercises to do by yourself. Let's see the solution. Let's solve one of that two exercises which I given to you to do by yourself. Here we pass the statement which finds the simple interest, that is I equal to P into N into R by 100 by each phases of compiler to generate the target code. Also note that here we are assuming I, P, N and R are of type float. So the first phase of compiler is lexical analyzer, which divides the given source statement into the tokens and classifies into the different lexical classes. So the output from the lexical analysis is ID1 equal to ID2 into ID3 into ID4 divided by 100. As I say earlier, that ID1 means I is stored in as an identifier, that's why we write ID. And this 1 means that ID is stored in the symbol table at position 1. Similarly, for P, N and R. Now the output of lexical analysis is taken by syntax analysis as an input and generate parse tree or syntax tree. Here we have to generate the parse tree according to the precedence of an operator. First, ID4 is divided by 100. Then we multiply ID3 with the answer generated by ID4 divided by 100. After that, we multiply this whole answer which is stored in temporary variable with ID2. Then the answer which is generated by ID2 into ID3 into ID4 divided by 100 will be assigned to ID1. Now this syntax tree passed from semantic analysis for matching of parentheses in expression, for checking the type compatibility, for checking the scope of the variable, etc. So here all variables are of type float. So semantic analyzer converts this 100 into integer to real. So the output becomes first integer to real 100 and then divided by ID4. Then the whole answer is multiplied by ID3, then multiply with ID2, and the answer is stored in ID1. Now intermediate code is generated, which is machine independent code. First, this integer to real is stored in temp1. After that, ID4 is divided by this temp1. So T2 equal to ID4 divided by T1. And the answer is stored in T2, that is temp2. Now ID3 is multiplied by the answer stored in T2 and assigned to T3. Next, ID2 is multiplied by the answer stored in T3. And the answer of the expression which is stored in T4 is assigned to ID1. So this is an intermediate code in the form of 3 address code which is commonly used. As we know, there are 3 forms of intermediate code. First one is postfix notation, 3 address code and syntax tree. But we are generating in the form of 3 address code. Now code optimization is applied to the intermediate code for faster execution. And also it consumes less memory. So here ID4 is divided by 100 are stored in result 1 instead of we are using here 2 temporaries. But in after code optimization, only T1 equal to ID4 divided by 100.0. Instead of converting integer to real 100, we are directly writing 100.0. Then ID3 is multiplied by T1 and stored the result into T2. And at last, ID2 is multiplied by T2 and assign the result to ID1. Here intermediate code, we use 4 temporaries. Here in intermediate code, when we generate this code, we use 4 temporary variables. But after optimizing it, the code uses only 2 temporary variables. So this code consumes less memory and also execute faster compared to this intermediate code. Now this optimized code is used to generate the target code by code generation phase. First, This ID4 is moved in register 1. Now here move F. F indicates that the number is in float. The identifier which have any number, the type of this identifier is float. Now R1 is divided by 100 and store the result in R1. Here this hash signifies that it will deal with constant. Now this ID3 is moved in register 2, that is R2, and multiply with R1 and store the result in R2. Now this ID2 is moved in register R3 and then multiply with R2 and stores the result in R3. And at last the answer is stored in R3 is moved to ID1. So this is a target code which is generated by phases of compiler. Hope you all understand this exercise. Thank you.